Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in to another great episode of the Paper Review Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Flores, and today's topic is something that I've wanted to get off my chest for a long time. I just needed to wait till the end of the year culminated and to get rid of all the excess baggage of which the holiday season is. But I want to let you guys know that it is a great time to be a fan of professional wrestling. Professional wrestling in 2016 and 2017 is now more accessible than ever. And the year 2016 to now what we have already with 2017 has already gotten off to a roaring start. Wrestle Kingdom, you had earlier this year, you had PWG with Battle of Los Angeles 2016. NXT is eclipsing my expectations this year, even last year before that. And me, myself, I was able to go to a lot of live events for WWE and a lot of live events for NXT. And wow, I have been doing myself a very big disservice because I could have been doing this a lot earlier in my life. And I honestly enjoy it. I enjoy professional wrestling so much now. It's honestly it's given me a new outlook on life to even say, and I don't want to come off as this guy who's just sapping on professional wrestling, but it is exactly what it is. There's not a day where I don't think about it. There's not a day where I don't have, if I have a bad day, I know that I can depend on professional wrestling to get me out of a rut. And it's good to have that. It's good to have that balance in your life, knowing that there's at least something that can help you get out of a sinking depression, or there's something to get you out of a bad situation. But let's talk more along the lines of what happened in 2016, 2017, early 2017 with, there's a couple people I want to actually get to mention, and there's a couple events that I want to get to mention too, but a few days ago, I ended up watching the entirety of PWG's Battle of Los Angeles 2016, and I was amazed. I was able to see that the event in Reseda is live. It's very exciting. It's a very dynamic, intimate setting where you're able to try to get yourself over in the chanting other wrestlers' names, and it just gets. It's amazing to watch that. I've never watching the Battle of Los Angeles 2016 was something that I want to be a part of. It's so addicting to be right there in the nitty gritty, to know that you're watching an event that Dave Meltzer, the guy who does the Wrestling Observer newsletter, is watching as well. It's amazing to see the roster that they had from PWG. You had Cody Rhodes, Chris Hero, Adam Cole wasn't a part of the tournament, but he did participate in a couple of the main events. Ricochet, Will Ospreay, Pentagon Dark. You had a lot of people. Dalton Castle, John Hennigan, a.k.a. John Morrison, a.k.a. Johnny Mundo. You had a lot of good talent within PWG's Battle of Los Angeles. Shout out to the Botch Nerd for giving me those the DVDs as well. So I even want to talk about, this is more along the lines of like a loose, off the cuff type of podcast I'm doing today, just because I want to make sure that my emotions are in check, because I don't want to have it seem too structured here. But even with talking about PWG, it's just watching the amazing reactions people got from some of the moves, watching a lot of people within that tournament showcase to me that these guys are very, very great at what they do. I need to go next year, or this year rather, to the Battle of Los Angeles. It looks like a great place to be a part of. It looks amazing. But let's even talk about NXT. NXT now has a lot of ex-TNA talent. They have a lot of upcoming young talent. And it's going to be very scary to watch a majority of that roster join WWE this coming year. Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, they deserve more than to be in NXT, and especially Shinsuke Nakamura. I believe that Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Roode, and Samoa Joe didn't even deserve a brief tenure within NXT. If I was head of booking at WWE, I would have them right in the mix. Not to where AJ Styles is at, certainly, but more more in the main event picture, getting in the mix for title shots, etc. And speaking of NXT and speaking of WWE, I'm just very amazed that now in this day and age we're able to have access to various outlets of professional wrestling more than ever before. I would imagine how difficult it would be in the 60s and 70s that if you didn't have a TV or if you didn't have any money, how educated you would have been to know anything about wrestling. It's very difficult. I would imagine it would have been very difficult to even watch matches because high tier talent was going to cost a lot to watch at various arenas, so on and so forth. But I'm glad that with the WWE Network, with various YouTube channels like WCPW and other independent promotions, I'm glad that they're able to give you on-demand access, to give you on-demand access to their product. And that helps a lot of people gain more awareness of other wrestlers, of other promotions. And if you end up enjoying what you see, you can go down the rabbit hole and find other promotions to watch and find more wrestlers to follow. That's what it did with me in the Battle of Los Angeles. There's a lot of good wrestlers like Zack Sabre Jr. that are now in the main eye of great independent wrestlers. I'm just glad to have been a part of the 2016 professional wrestling scene, just watching all this amazing stuff. AJ Styles winning the heavyweight championship, Shinsuke Nakamura debuting at NXT, Samoa Joe beating Shinsuke Nakamura for the title. It's just great to be a part of wrestling now. And especially since the fact is that 2 years ago in terms of WWE, it wasn't really that good to watch. And I say that because the talent wasn't reflective of the possibilities that WWE has in terms of financial possibilities to sign great talent. WWE is a multi-billion-dollar company, and it has the ability to buy out people's contracts to get people to watch WWE. They have the money to buy it, to monopolize all the good talent, like they're doing right now. They can monopolize all the good talent to have people watch them, and that's what they did, man. They went on a big hot streak. It started early in 2015 when they signed Hideo Itami, and they just kept going on and on right to it. It's amazing. But I wanted to do this pay-per-view wrestling podcast just as a big a big forum for the expression that I have for professional wrestling, and I enjoy it, and I'm glad that whoever has listened to my podcast can enjoy it at the same pace that I've enjoyed it. It's hard trying to listen to a wrestling podcast, or it's hard to try to do a wrestling podcast when you're not essentially famous. You're just another guy with a glorified opinion, as I think I am. I try to make sure my judgment and my opinions are as effective as they can be, but like Al Snow said, he says that opinions are the lowest the lowest totem of knowledge, and that's what it is. But I'm glad to have a forum to where I can express how I feel about certain matches or express how I feel about certain things going on in the wrestling community, and I'm glad to have an outlet for that. And I'm glad to have met several people along the way that enjoy my podcasts, whether it be this one or the two other ones that I have. It really makes me want to do this even more, and I'm just glad, with pro wrestling, pro wrestling even started the advent of me doing podcasts, just because of the fact that I wanted to start doing a wrestling podcast. But then starting the wrestling podcast, I wanted to do two other ones. And it got the ball rolling on me doing podcasts in general. So I'm glad for that, definitely. In closing, I want to let you guys know that this isn't really a review on anything, but this is more like a State of the Union kind of podcast where I just want to let you guys know that pro wrestling is now, to me, is in great shape. And I can't wait to see what the next following years has for it, because we're getting into good stuff. We're seeing stuff that we haven't seen before in professional wrestling, where independent promotions are now peeking into the professional wrestling scene. You have a lot of people talking about it now due to the fact that it's more accessible. A lot of people like talking about it, and I enjoy it. I really do. And I want to thank you guys for listening to all my podcasts, whether it be this one or the Mark and Andre Show or Retro Collecting 101. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, because doing this podcast, discussing professional wrestling, talking about it with other people that have enjoyed it as much as I do, it's great. You know, it's helped me out. It's helped me get out of a depression rump, and I love it. I love professional wrestling, man. I just can't get enough of it, and I'm just glad to share my opinion with you guys on this professional wrestling podcast that I have. And I have big plans for it. I got big plans for all my podcasts and the Mark F Podcast channel. So this isn't going to stop anytime soon for me. And I just hope for the rest of the year it goes on the same hot streak. It'll just keep riding the coattails of what Wrestle Kingdom did with Kenny Omega's 6-star match being reported by Dave Meltzer. So let's see what we got, guys. I want to wish you guys the very best. And please follow me on my various social medias. Either it's Mark F Podcast on Twitter, or Mark F's Modern Life on Instagram. So make sure you guys join me in talking it up with professional wrestling. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.